Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom from movies, comics, TV shows, video games. We've got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here, as always, with Court. Court, how was your Christmas?
It was fun.
Good.
Watched basketball all day from 12 o'clock to 1 a.m. I watched basketball. It was incredible.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, got Mavericks got to win. This is my proclamation that I'm a big Dallas Mavericks fan, and you're probably thinking, what the heck?
What's that have to do with what we're talking about? Nothing. But
Yeah, this is our show.
This is our show. We can do what we want with it. So, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Hope your holiday was great. We're here because it's the last episode of 2022. So, we're going to talk about some things that happened in 2022.
Lots of things.
Because if we did everything, we'd be here for 9 hours, and we're not James Cameron, so...
Oh.
we don't have time for that.
Nor budget.
Nor the budget for that. Or the space on my hard drive for that. But, yeah, we're going to do our second annual awards for the year.
Year in review.
Yep, year in review thing. So, if you listen to the last year episode of 2021, it's going to be a similar thing. Similar setup, categories. We love a good category episode. Mm-hmm. And so we got some categories. We're going to look back at all the things that we want to talk about for the year that was, from things that we may have forgotten about. Moon Knight may or may not be one of those things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking back, it's kind of astounding, like all the stuff that we got this year mm-hmm. that like we didn't even think about. Stuff that we've done episodes on.
Yeah, we were going from like Umbrella Academy to Stranger Things, like
The Boys.
The Boys came out this year.
The Batman
came out early this year.
Morbius.
Uncharted came out this year.
So yeah, we're going to talk about that. Before that, we do have some news to talk about. Not much, but first and foremost, so Gal Gadot may be out as Wonder Woman, but she's back in as whoever her character was in Fast and Furious. So she will be apparently...
Didn't she die?
Yeah, she fell out of a plane.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Han came back, so...
Oh yeah,
he was exploded.
Yeah, but it was a setup, though.
It was a hologram. Freaking Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell set us all up.
You remember when they used to race cars in the Fast and Furious movies?
Yeah, and then they got good.
and then Fast 5 was just like, is this movie credible? And then Fast 8 was like, nope.
So yeah, she's returning to her previous role again. I don't know what the character's name is, but she was Han's girlfriend. So you brought Han back in the last one, you brought her back in this one. I guess that makes sense.
Well, she's got free time, doesn't she?
Yep.
We need a laugh track for the show.
Yeah, so, I don't know, man. The Fast and Furious is its own weird little universe. We've talked about it before.
Remember when we were obsessed with the Fast and Furious franchise?
We mentioned it for, the first, 12 episodes or so. Every week it got a mention. We'll revisit those movies at some point. Probably when the next one's about to come out. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun episode to do. Sure. I don't really care what they do with these movies at this point. I like this Fast and Furious universe because it's really no harm, no foul. Mm-hmm. Bring back whoever you want, do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. These movies get as crazy as you want them to get. So just, you want to bring Gal Gadot back and her schedule's opened up? Sure. Get Henry Cavill in there while you're at it.
Sure, have him be the villain of the last one.
Why not? I feel like they have a villain. Is it Jason Momoa?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, he's the villain, right? Henry Cavill. We could reunite the Justice League.
Yeah, everybody from the Justice League is going to be in Fast and Furious now. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, that's all I really got to say about that. You got any other thoughts?
Nope.
Okay, good. So we have some more Agatha Coven of Chaos. What is the show casting? Three-time
Tony Award winner.
Patti Lupone has joined the show.
Not Patti LaBelle.
Not Patti LaBelle. Has joined the show as a witch, presumably.
Cool.
Who else is in the show? Aubrey Plaza.
Yep.
Yep. Who else?
The kid from Heartstopper.
Yep. Catherine Hahn.
Naturally.
Maybe Lizzie Olsen.
Maybe Elizabeth Olsen. Let's not WandaVision this.
I don't want to, but it's tempting. Sacha Baron Cohen, maybe?
Maybe.
He's Mephisto? Question mark?
Can they get that off on Disney Plus?
I don't know. We're gonna find out, I guess. So yeah, that's the show. I still don't totally know what it is, but they're lining up a lot of musical talent, I've noticed, and a lot of stage talent.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if they're gonna double down on the whole them winning an Emmy for that song.
Hey, they might. Mm-hmm. I mean, it definitely seems like it's going to be very magnanimous, and theatrical. It's like just based on the casting that they have. Like they're getting a lot of stage actors, a lot of musically based actors,
and Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah. Who could do anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see this being kind of like a fun hocus pocusy kind of show.
That's a good comparison.
Like an MCU's version of Hocus Pocus, kind of.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
That feels like what I feel, again, with these Marvel projects, it feels like people have certain expectations. It's like the Star Wars thing. Like, why aren't they making things for us? Like, a show like this isn't really for us, quote unquote, right? This is just going to be like a fun thing that Catherine Hahn can just have fun with.
Isn't that for everybody, though?
You would think.
Fun?
But not in the traditional sense. But I'll have fun with it.
Sure.
That song smacked. In WandaVision.
I just finished WandaVision 3 days ago.
Nice. For the first time?
Sure.
First time?
First time.
James Franco meme.
First time.
Other than that, the only other bit of news I have is Ryan Coogler has detailed what would have been the Black Panther 2 movie with Chadwick Boseman had the unfortunate passing that happened. And it was going to be a very familial dynamic, father-son kind of adventure movie with T'Challa and his son, also T'Challa. And I think that probably would have been really cool, to be honest with you. It's something that we hadn't seen in the MCU, like a father-son, parent-child centered movie.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it, it's something that's interesting because whenever we get around to talking about Phase 4, Phase 4 is about two things. I've kind of come to the conclusion Phase 4 is about loss and legacy. Those are the two most prominent themes. So that legacy piece would have been even cooler, and like all you people that wanted, his son to begin with, that would have been a nice little payoff. It would have given Chadwick Boseman a pretty cool challenge as an actor too, to kind of have a son, because I don't think he's had a role where he's had like a kid in the movie, like while the movie's happening. You know what I mean? Like I think he's had a role where like he has a kid, and then but like that would be an example of like him having a child this whole time, and not like the superhero movie trope or the movie trope where it's like the kid that you didn't know about gets thrust upon you. Like, it would have been cool for him to have a son and have to raise the son in front of us. I think that would have been a really interesting dynamic, and I know Ryan Coogler's talked about it, talking to Chadwick about the script before he passed away, and Chadwick telling him, I don't want to read it. I think it'll probably be good no matter what it is, so I think it's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would have been totally into that idea, and, maybe it's something maybe not Ryan Coogler uses in the future, but maybe someone else uses in the future, as we start getting more of these young actors and actresses into the MCU. Maybe you are able to slot in kind of like a parent-child relationship. I don't know, maybe they want to do something with Hulk.
Well, I think that's where they're going with whatever that Hulk movie will be. And then you got other aspects of the MCU, like essentially an interesting one might be when inevitably Wiccan and Speed are of age to be young Avengers. That might be a dynamic between, somebody that was a villain that was a hero turned into a villain and is going to need to have this trek to turn back into a hero. That can be an interesting dynamic between them. Yeah, I totally agree. And, kind of spinning off that, I guess we could talk real quick about the Captain America stuff, because a lot of the seeds for what apparently this Captain America movie is going to be were kind of laid in Wakanda Forever in the kind of like the C plot that people felt didn't even really need to be in the movie is probably going to advance further than we thought it was going to, where it's going to be kind of like a war for resources kind of deal. Should we even go into it? We can touch upon it and not say it like it's the gospel, but we can talk about it. So in the great words of every YouTuber that doesn't want to get absolutely trashed for saying the wrong thing, take this with an absolute grain of salt. So the big rumor for Captain America New World Order is that Harrison Ford's Thunderbolt Ross / Red Hulk will be the villain of this movie, and that Sam and the director did say, so that you can take for all of it is that Sam's gonna put together an Avengers team himself, and he's like, this is the first time he's gonna need to be like a leader himself, because we saw his ascension to be Captain America, but a big part of being Captain America is being the leader of people and being the leader of a team. But the big leak is all you Eternals haters out there are about to be proved wrong, because apparently Tiamat and the Celestials are made out of... I think I do need a dun-dun-dun for this. You do need a dun-dun-dun. Tiamat and the Celestials and possibly the Eternals themselves are made out of adamantium, which is pretty interesting. So if that's the case, then they don't need vibranium anymore, because what is it? Vibranium is more versatile, but adamantium straight up like just
indestructible.
It's like nigh indestructible. Like you can't do anything to adamantium. So
well, yeah, because Wolverine.
Right, exactly. Unless you're Magneto.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other piece of that is that Tiamat itself is going to be just how nowhere the severed head of a celestial is like a, you know, like a Madripoor estate that Tiamat's going to turn into Genosha. So, you know, a home for a little bit for mutants in the comics. Not only a home, but also a prison for mutants in the comics too. So that's really interesting. So, yeah, I think that's a really smart way to get to not only. And then it's a Captain America movie, and it's Red Hulk / Thunderbolt Ross. So what naturally would be the progression if they get a hold of adamantium? Keep going with the weapons program, and then you get to Weapon 10, which would be whoever you want your new Wolverine to be. So hopefully they end the saga with Deadpool 3, and then that's it for Hugh Jackman. Secret Wars, obviously, and then that's it. And then you go further, and then, yeah, now you have the groundwork to be like, we got our adamantium, now we can go get a Weapon 10.
Yeah,
because you already did your Weapon 1.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the MCU has done a good job of sort of backdooring a lot of comic book stuff, but in their own way, and putting their own spin on things, which is totally fair and within their rights to do. Like, people all the time are like, well, this isn't like a comic accurate thing. Like, the MCU has built its own lore at this point where they can take things that are pre-existing and tie them into other things. And I think, you know, the big challenge has always been, how are they going to get the mutants into this already established world? Like, it would be jarring for them to be like, boom, they're here.
Yeah, because that was, including me, I thought what was going to happen, the snap itself was going to, like, because of how big of a burst of energy that happened, that the X-Gene was going to be awakened. But I'm liking this. My new theory is that Kang himself removed them from the timeline, because it's like it's an imperfection almost in the timeline of having, like, random powers popping up everywhere. Like, he doesn't want that. Same thing with the Fantastic Four. Like, the one person possibly as smart as him just being allowed in the timeline is something he can't have. That being Reed Richards. Like that
theory. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to bear fruit, but that's one of my favorite theories.
That would be really sick if Kang just was just like, he had, like, around the time the Avengers were being formed, the Fantastic Four, and Kang's like, I can't have my great whatever grandfather here to possibly destroy or never have me or destroy the timeline. So yeah, I need to remove them. But yeah, that's a good point about the comic accuracy and, like, what them building their own lore, I think, is really interesting. But again, a lot of the naysayers on Phase 4, this is just the new Phase 1, but just on a much bigger scale. I will say it's a lot of content. They made like 10 years worth of stuff in 2 years. Like, that's so much stuff. Yeah. But the universe expanded exponentially from the first Iron Man, so naturally that's the way it was going to go. And weren't people asking for more stuff anyway? Yeah. Yeah, and then they got more stuff, and then they weren't happy.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, there was a saturation point and, you know, to the point that there were some diminishing returns on things. And I think, you know, to be fair also, these last few projects that they pumped out have been pretty high quality. When you look at Werewolf by Night, when you look at Wakanda Forever, when you look at the Guardians Holiday Special, you know, all those things are some of the best things that they've done, you know, to this point. So I think, you know, there is something to the idea that just take your time a little bit. You know, you can still give us a lot, but you know, take your time with it.
Yeah. But also to counter that point, I do think if you look at this as a Phase 1X, everybody just wants everything. That's not the way it's happening. Like, this isn't an everything now type of thing. Like, this is all things that are being laid for once Phase 6 hits are going to all make sense. Like, they wanted everything, the answer right there from She-Hulk. They wanted the answer right there from Moon Knight. They wanted the answer right there from Multiverse. Like, none of this is going to pay off until...
Well, that's also a byproduct of how the MCU markets itself now, because there wasn't this, like, here's the plan thing. Like, when Iron Man first came out, it was, hey, we're doing Iron Man, and then we'll give you a post-credit scene that hints towards the Avengers, but it was never like, hey, we're doing this movie, and then we're doing the Avengers. Like, there was never, like, a big... Like, they only started doing that fairly recently, so now that they've almost not shot themselves in the foot, because the movies still make billions of dollars, but, like, they put basically, like, what the big prize is, like, out in front of us, so now everybody wants to see how we get to there without giving it time to, like, actually tell the story. So, like, in a weird way, I almost wish they would pull back a little bit. Like, I think it would have been cool if, like, 2 years from now they were like, hey, we're doing Secret Wars.
Yeah. People would have lost it if that was the case. Because then it allows people to build expectation. I think that's something that's not as great as like, for like a fan, like it'll be like cool, but then it's like the Star Wars thing, like don't give them a chance to build their own theories, because then whatever you do, they're not going to like.
Exactly. And that's kind of where we're at now with certain things in the MCU. Not all, but definitely certain things.
Yeah, I do think Phase 5 is going to get received, and I think it is helping that Ant-Man's finishing the trilogy, Guardians of the Galaxy, so like all the emotional beats are going to hit, and like the things you fell in love with, like again, like for me personally, like I physically grew up with the MCU, like it literally was from when I was a kid into like my early adulthood. Like I've grown up with this franchise too, so like this is a lot of content. So like I think it's again this is why Dave Filoni's smart. That quote, it always hits me again when he's just like, you're ruining Star Wars, the thing I fell in love with when I was a kid. You're making it childish, like the thing I fell in love with when I was a kid. And Dave Filoni's like, when you were a what? When I was a kid, I was like, yeah, that's the point. Like this all isn't just for adults. Like this is also for kids. That's why you're getting projects like Miss Marvel. We're gonna get the Young Avengers. We had Kate Bishop be so prominent. Like all those things factor in as well.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Let's talk about a year in review.
Yeah,
for 2022.
2022 was an interesting year.
Yeah, very interesting. We had there were a lot of discussions to be had on whether movies could survive.
Yep, and there was a couple movies that gave hope. There was movies that gave perspective. There were movies that brought movies back. There were movies that might have disappointed, and then there was movies that were triumphant this year. And shows as well. I think this year was particularly, a really great year in shows as well. Like,
I agree.
Television, specifically streaming television, really had a lot of heavy hitters this year. Whether it be, multiple like postseason, like seasons after like Barry, or if it was the debut of a show like The Bear. There was a lot of things this year that were either new or coming back for new seasons that just really showed out. And I think the acting this year was specifically in television was really incredible. I saw some really truly like special performances.
But we're starting to get to that point where streaming and movies and TV are almost becoming intertwined.
Yeah, they're coming like congruent with each other
in a way, and I think that's there's positives and negatives on both sides of that. But on the TV, I think it's been more positive for TV and more negative for movies, if that makes sense, because now you're getting all these kind of A and B list actors that are more comfortable doing streaming shows and doing these kind of high budget TV shows, and you're having this saturation of streaming services, but at the same time, rising tides raise all ships, So when we talked about Stranger Things earlier this year about how like Netflix kind of feels like almost past its prime with all these other streaming services that are putting out like high quality stuff.
You know what Netflix is? Netflix is like when a player wins an MVP like early in their year, and like they were consistently winning it early, and then you just can't give it to them every single time because then it's not fair. Yeah. And I think HBO Max was the thing that came in that was new, that was hot from the start. And that comes from shows like Euphoria had a season 2 this year, which is huge. Like all the
return of Game of Thrones.
Right. And the advantage that HBO Max has is the fact that it's week to week. So you're getting people locked in week to week. Twitter's on fire every time one of these shows drop, and it's like the number one show every single week in on, and it's on a Sunday night. Like it's prime time. It's the last thing of the week that people are going to see. Yep. Like it's right before the work week starts, so people go back to work and they talk about these shows.
We saw the true rise of I feel like Amazon kind of
and Amazon
like
Prime. Amazon Prime had a great year
this year with you talk about The Boys, you talk about Invincible, you talk about Rings of Power. All the other Jack Reacher is very popular. So all these streaming services are kind of coming in. Everyone's coming into this. Felt like the year like for streaming that like everyone kind of came into their own, and then Netflix had Stranger Things, and they were like, hey, we're still here, we're still doing high quality. It was like the conversation from like, I remember specifically from like 2019, like what is this gonna turn into, because that's when like The Irishman came out, The Five Bloods came out it was Martin Scorsese, Spike Lee, both had movies that were on Netflix, like Netflix exclusives, like, and now it was just like, that was like, what's gonna happen now, and now it feels very like we're at our cruising altitude with streaming services, and this is where people are starting to shine. I mean, again, it's a good or bad thing, and I think there's one specific movie, or two movies, and one recent and one from the summer, that it sparks the conversation that cinema's not dead. Like, the idea of going to the movie isn't as dead as we thought it was. Right.
And I mean, honestly, 3. And I think Doctor Strange, because, once we get there, I'm going to talk about it, because I remember when we went to go see Doctor Strange, like, you felt it again that you hadn't felt in a while. Like, there was some energy, energy surrounding it.
Yeah. So let's dive into these categories. If you want to take the wheel here and steer us, because you're the categories guy. So let's get it started.
So let's start on the gaming realm. I think we should start some gaming. So I mean, I think maybe we should just do what your favorite game of the year was.
Okay, so
and why is it Stray?
Stray was very good. Obviously got a Game of the Year nomination at the Game Awards. Man, I really volleyed back and forth with this, because recency bias is telling me that it's God of War Ragnarok. But then I go back to early this year playing Horizon Forbidden West, and, just immediately thinking it's the best looking game I've ever seen. It's like the character work is incredible. The world is wholly unique. Not that God of Wars isn't, but it's still based in Norse mythology, whereas Horizon is a totally, new thing. Yep. It's totally created, by the developers. And I think it's Horizon Forbidden West for me.
Wow, okay.
Man, God of War is tremendous. God of War Ragnarok is amazing. It's tremendous. The story is great. But again, it's been a great year for sequels, to be honest with you. And just Horizon Forbidden West did everything that the first game did, but just took it to a whole nother level. I mean, like I said, I can't get those visuals out of my head at the end of the day. And, in terms of just smooth playing and, just like I said, the character work is incredible. And I think that game, unfortunately, for the second time, got overlooked in a year that it got released, because the first one came out also in 2018. So it got overshadowed by God of War, it got overshadowed by Red Dead Redemption 2, and then unfortunately Forbidden West got overshadowed by Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok. And I think Forbidden West is every bit as good as those games, and I just wanted to, maybe, if you ask me a month from now, I might change my mind and say God of War, but I do want to take this opportunity to give Horizon Forbidden West some much needed love, because that game is every bit as good as Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok.
Awesome. I'm gonna surprise surprise, obviously I'm gonna go with The Last of Us Part 1 remaster.
It's fair.
I think that's one of the most, not only the most perfect stories, but perfect games, but one of the most perfect stories. And I think the perfection is in the imperfection of the world and in the imperfection of humanity. I mean, you go with a main character that has lost. Like, he lost, but that's not the idea of life as like a win-lose. Like, life's a progression-based type of thing. And the introduction of like this second chance thing in a universe, like, it's one thing to get a second chance, it's another thing to get a second chance in a universe like that. But again, it's the single, in my opinion, single most human story in a game that I've ever seen. Like, it's just, it's ever so human, ever so real, ever so relatable. One of the most jaw-dropping endings to a video game you can ask for, some of the most gut-wrenching and heartbreaking moments you can ever ask for. But there's still like this glimmer of hope, which you just think is always going to go away, but it doesn't. And it's, what I liked about what we're talking about, we didn't even mention gameplay once, and I think that's the future of gaming, and what modern gaming really has been, is these story mode where you're just kind of stepping in and you're just
especially
walking
on the Sony side,
right?
Sony's perfected this.
They're mastering it, and I think it's incredible. A game that comes out in 2013, you put it on the PS5 engine and it just looks phenomenal. It looks incredible, but I think that story is going to get re-revolutionized in 3 weeks from now, when we get the Last of Us television show with Pelle Ramsey and Pedro Pascal. I can't wait for that show, and I'm so glad I got to play this game for the first time. You were badgering me about it, and now it's my favorite game of all time. So
yeah, I mean, that story is one of a kind. It truly is, and like I said when we talk about the show that's upcoming, I think that story lends itself even better to a TV screen than it does to a gaming console. And I think that's going to bear fruit. And I think it's quickly going to become, talk of the town on Sunday nights. Yep. I really believe
that HBO Max slot, like, it's going to get the Sunday night HBO Max slot. And I think it's going to be especially to start the year, such a genius spot to put it in January, right before The Mandalorian comes out, because The Mandalorian's probably going to take it from there. And then we'll just keep going on throughout the year.
Yeah, I really believe that. So yeah, that's a great choice. I picked up the remaster too, and it was just every bit as incredible as the first time I played it. So
right, I'm so glad I played it when I was older because you're trucking through. I watched my brother. I was sitting down while my brother was watching it, being scared as a kid, and then you play it now, and it's just like like a story.
You internalize it different ways depending on what age you are.
Right.
So.
Yep. It's depending on your life situation. Like I said before, like I heard from my friends that had children like how hard that game hits after you have a child, because it's just, and it's something that Troy Baker talks about all the time. And it's funny too because Christopher Judge talked about that heavily on God of War Ragnarok and God of War 2018, like having his kids and like looking at himself in the mirror after having his kids and like what to give this performance and what this performance needs as well. So I'm truthfully glad that I think gaming's going to start bringing big draws from actors, because same thing how they were looking at streaming services. I think that gaming might be the next place where they can go and actually get a director to direct you on a game, and like it can truthfully be
it feels like that's kind of what we're leaning towards. Yep. I mean, you talk about a lot of these actors that are doing the work for these games are now doing the mocap.
Right, yeah. Cameron Monaghan, you talk about that. You talk about Norman Reedus with Death Stranding. Like, these are some pretty big actors that are stepping into these gaming roles, but they're truthfully owning the role. And it's not the fact that they're doing the mocap. It's like they're actually giving like their all out performance. And sometimes this is probably some of the most they have to give to some of these performances because how prolonged they are as well.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
That's gaming. And that's gaming.
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's move on. What is your favorite Mantle pass from this year?
Okay, so I kind of hedged this one because it wasn't technically an on-screen Mantle pass, but I am going with the Mantle pass to Ms. Marvel as kind of the young darling of the MCU that I think she's taken from Tom Holland. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I'm going. I mean, we've preached this show in the past. Yep. We were both very positive on it, and I think that was driven by Iman Vellani, and I think she's poised to be kind of the next big thing. Yep. I mean, Haley Steinfeld is quite a bit older than her.
Yeah, what is she, like 5 years older than her?
Yeah. So I'm talking like when Tom Holland first came into the MCU in Civil War and kind of like encapsulated like the masses. Mm-hmm. I think Iman Vellani is very poised to do much the same. Yeah,
she's just so natural, I think, and she's very organic. I think that's the best way to explain her. She's like a spark plug of energy, which you kind of need in the universe. This Haley Steinfeld is just like this comedic timed like perfectionist. I think
she's super polished.
Right, yeah.
As not just an actress, but a performer in general.
Right, yeah. But I think Iman Vellani, like her youthful exuberance is a good thing in this case. Like the fact that like she might mess up in an interview, or she might or she's like an actual fan of the MCU that carries around a notebook, like that's the perfect person to kind of head, like, and especially the diversity piece in it too, like something that we were just having a conversation before we hopped on, like we made a joke and then we were like took it seriously for a second. We were like, maybe we weren't as diverse as we thought we were. Like they needed a show like that for young women to like latch onto, because Natasha's gone, Captain Marvel didn't do well, so I think Miss Marvel is like the perfect young adult show, and it's great representation for Muslims as well. It's just I think it was. For Moon Knight apparently not being as much of a hit as we thought, I think Miss Marvel kind of takes that place. Much like how I thought that Thor Love and Thunder was going to be the thing that did it this year, I think that Multiverse of Madness did it a little better. So
yeah. So that's I think Iman Vellani / Ms. Marvel is getting my Mantle pass.
All right, I had a tough one with this, but it's unironic and it's ironic. So it's like a 3-pronged Mantle pass, but it's from the same show.
Okay.
It's from Aegon Targaryen to Viserys Targaryen, back to Aegon the Second Targaryen. I think it's a true Mantle pass. It's a true Mantle pass. It's right in the name. If I were to, I wanted to have a little fun with that. If I were to take it serious, it would easily probably be Letitia Wright being the new Black Panther. I think that was probably one of the. I think it is the single best Ascension story in the MCU right now. It's just circumstances or not, I think Letitia Wright did a phenomenal job portraying that, and it's just the fact that how she was before, like what happened, like that's true, like it felt real that way, like this person that was so fun, and then something happens to them tragic, and they kind of change.
Incredible transformation.
Yeah. Yep. So I think she bodied that, and it was really well done. But I mean, it's ironic, but I'm not even kidding. Like the transition from Aegon, it was like the new era for Westeros after that happened. I mean, Patti Constantine was phenomenal. We talked in length, and I made this point about him being a noble king poisoned him throughout the years and killed him in the end. But the thing that sticks with me to the end of the day is that dinner scene in episode 8 at the very end of his life. Like that 30 seconds of calm was what 40 years of his life took, or 50 or 60 years of his life took to get there. Like all of that encapsulated into that 1 minute long scene is everything that he works for as a king. It's just for peace. That's all he was. That's all he wanted. He wanted peace. He wasn't a violent king. He wasn't senile, or he didn't even become senile in the end. It was more, practicing by Otto Hightower, but he was noble. And I think that's respectable in a land where you can't be noble to be king. It's like the old adage, like the president can't be like, you can't be all powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't be wherever Lex Luthor said you can't. God cannot be all powerful and be all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought Patti Constantine was incredible this year as Viserys Targaryen, and then I picked Aegon II because of how much he didn't want it, and I think that's he's the most relatable character because he's like, I literally just want to wake up and drink and then go to bed. Like, can I not just do this as the king? Like, I don't want any responsibility. This is ridiculous. So that's my mantle pass for this year. And
also a good mantle pass from Game of Thrones to House of the Dragon, yep. I think.
It's allegorical, if I may.
Yeah. What else we got? Throw another one.
Throw another one. What was your favorite trailer from this year?
It's Avatar, man.
Yeah. Yep.
I remember we sat down for Doctor Strange, partially for Doctor Strange, but also because we knew this Avatar trailer was coming, and man, it was mesmerizing. It was
the second trailer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're diving into the water.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's the music. I would love to go even farther to talk about Avatar, because my thoughts have evolved on that movie. I think one of the best points you've ever made on this show was this idea that like Avatar doesn't need to be something that's like you need to talk about it every 5 seconds to keep its relevancy, but like when you think about it, you're like, this is truthfully like incredible what we're watching. Yep. I mean, spoiler warning, so you could mark this time in the episode, but the scene, like, it's just scene to scene, like that trailer encapsulated all the emotion that you need. Like it's the beauty and the flow of the water and like the hard work that James Cameron and team and the actors put into like creating this as well. And then on screen, like all the relationships were so well executed. I love the perspective of it being from his kids. Like having Loak as the main character instead of Jake, I think is one of the better decisions because again, it gets the younger audience in there too. It's smart. It's a smart way to do it. Having a relationship with Payakan as well was really well done. And I just think everything was well executed, but that trailer really, my hype level like rose, and that's what you want from trailer. That's the sole purpose of a trailer, is to get the notification out that you're making this, and the hype level raises from like 0 to 100 after that, and just that beauty in that trailer, and then just the showcase of like, it's crazy. I was watching like screenshots from 2009. Like 2009 looks incredible, but like it just looks like the realism is unreal on what they were able to do in 2022.
It's absolutely insane.
I don't understand how they did that without actually like just painting people blue and doing this.
And the trailer was perfect in the sense that it just reintroduced you to the world. Mm-hmm. It didn't give away anything about the story or anything. It was just like, hey, here's this visual spectacle, and we'll see you in a few months. And the movie didn't disappoint. Mm-hmm. Are you going Avatar also, or do you have something else?
I'm gonna give you one TV show and one movie. I'm gonna give you the Last of Us trailer. I think the second trailer too, really well executed, to the point where you got people that didn't know about it to talk about it. I think that's the mark of when you're at adapting something where you're really hitting the mark when you do that. But Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and it's a feeling based thing. It was that feel that I hadn't felt for so long. I felt it again. It was just this idea that James Gunn he has such a handle, and it's the end of one of my favorite MCU movie and the trilogy that it takes place in. It's the end of it. It's just all those encapsulated. It's just every feeling that I had in 2014. I'm early in high school. I go to see that movie and I'm just enamored, and then falling in love with these characters, seeing them interact with the Avengers, and like seeing how far they've grown. It's just the last part of that. It's keeping the comedy, all the things you love about the MCU. But I think this is going to be the swan song to James Gunn in the MCU. It was well done.
Yeah, I totally agree.
What else we got? Ooh, let's do what's your most surprising movie?
In a good way or a bad way?
Let's do a bad way first. I don't really have a bad way one, but I go ahead.
Thor: Love and Thunder. Because I think you can go back and probably listen to our trailer breakdown of this movie, and we were both like, oh, this is going to be,
Yeah.
It's going to be, the height, peak kind of what Thor is now, and it was that, but it just went in a totally different direction than I think we were expecting.
I mean, I talked about it. I just think that Taika Waititi said, I don't really care about anything that you guys care about right now. I'm just going to simply have fun. Like, I'm just going to do whatever I want. And, like, that's like a middle finger almost.
Yeah.
Which, okay, if you're the director of this thing, I can't say anything about this, but I just think Thor: Love and Thunder it's just a miss. Like, it's not conscious of the universe. It's not conscious of Thor as well. When you became conscious of Thor in the last movie too, it's just because of what happened in Ragnarok. Like, they're so polar opposite, but they're leading to the same direction, and then they just tail off in different directions, and it's unfortunate. Like I said, that idea of like another classic Thor adventure, like that's how you should have played the whole movie. Like, it should be like the Adventures of Thor, like picking up a Thor comic at some point, like. Not to be like harp on the self-serious nature, and I think Andor kind of gets that right in a universe where, there's a lot of ups and downs, but I think Thor: Love and Thunder was like, it was much more of a layup compared to Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange had a lot of expectation with heavy lifting, which of Thor, you could have just done something cool and it would have been perfect. Like, it would have been the movie that people probably were going to see. It probably would have made 800 plus or 900 plus. Like, that's probably what you wanted, and it didn't.
Yeah. I totally agree. So that's yours also?
I picked Black Adam, actually.
Oh,
and it's hilarious, and it's the idea of rewatchability. I don't think that movie has as much rewatchability as I thought it did. And it's funny because I even said it on here. I was like, I can't wait to check out that movie, and then it time started passing. I was just like, did I really care about that movie, or was I just like having fun in the theater that day? Which is cool, like, but like I don't think that story works that much. The cool part is the Justice Society part, and like, but that's not the movie. The movie's Black Adam, and like, I kept thinking about like Dwayne Johnson and his acting. I'm like, I don't care about this as much as I did when I saw this movie, and then like it started dripping, or like it started like stooping, and like it got low, and I was just like, I really don't care about his performance at all as Black Adam. Like, I care about Hawkman and Dr. Fate right now. I really don't care about Black Adam as much as I should.
Yeah. That's totally fair. I think the difference for me between that movie and Thor: Love and Thunder is the expectations. My expectations weren't super high for Black Adam. Like, what I thought it was basically what it turned out to be. If maybe a little better than I thought it might have been. Whereas Thor: Love and Thunder, I was expecting like this big magnum opus, like Ragnarok, but better, and it just went in a totally unexpected direction. But if I had to pick a movie that was surprising in a good way, I volleyed between this, but I'm gonna go with Top Gun Maverick. I don't know what I expected from this movie.
Sure.
Some 30 years odd from the first one that, is a fun 80s action flick in itself, but like, I really wasn't sure what I was expecting from this, and what I ended up getting was one of the best movies of the year, period, regardless of genre. Right. So like, I think as far as like being kind of taken aback by, and it's not the first time I'm going to mention this movie, by the way, throughout this thing that we do, but I was just totally blown away by it, and that was not at all I thought I was going to have fun with it, but for it to be like one of the best movies of the year, like period, was something I definitely didn't see coming.
Sure. I got I have three actually. I couldn't
three.
I couldn't get away from the three. You know what? I'll kick it down to two. I'll give an honorable mention to Hustle. Actually, we hadn't had like a sports movie that was like in real, quote unquote, real life, and it's just, again, it's the expectation and execution piece. Like, I think going in, like, it's Adam Sandler, and it's just like, oh, okay, well, are we gonna get Uncut Gems, or are we gonna get like Grown Ups? Like, it's, people don't understand there's like a middle ground that he can operate in, and I just think that movie's just, it's just a solid sports movie. Like, if you're a sports lover and you love the NBA, like, it's a fun movie to watch. It's cool. It's like a triumphant story. Like, it's not, again, it's the same thing as Top Gun Maverick. It's not overly complicated. You get NBA players that are cool. Like, you put it in universe. Like, it's fun. Like, you can have a good time. You could root for this guy. That's what sports movies are about. You can root for the both of them, and you kind of latch onto them, and you have the hopes and desires that they have. But I'm gonna go with Adam Project is one. That's one of my most surprising movies of the year. I didn't expect to like it that much. It's crazy how Zoe Saldana is like always just like she just shows up in movies and delivers every single time. Like
she delivers so much that like everything she's in, you're like, damn, I want her like in more scenes.
Right? Yeah. but then you don't want to oversat. Like she's used the perfect amount, but like. The kid they got for Adam Project, you immediately know why he got picked to be Percy Jackson. Like if they ever do like a kid Deadpool, like it's easy, just make it him. Like I think that kid's got straight up star potential, and I mean having Ryan Reynolds as like a mentor figure or a person you're acting across in a movie is really well done. But the lore was fun. It was just a fun movie, man. I had fun with it. Again, it's just the immediate injection of youthful exuberance right away is great, and like him playing a little Ryan Reynolds is just it was. I had fun, man. It was solid.
It's very good.
My other one, and this is probably number one, is Bullet Train. I did not. Yeah, Bullet Train. Again, a movie where trailer was cool. We were seeing the trailer throughout the entire year when we were going to that and Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
We're seeing. I hope Dungeons and Dragons never comes out. I just hope this is a trailer at the movies that just always plays for like the rest of existence. But yeah, Bullet Train. You want to talk about third acts this year? Bullet Train's third act, I think, is really fun, really fast paced, really loud. But I think the movie's innovative. Probably the only misplaced thing is probably Joey King, and it's not her fault. It's just the execution on her character is just. Because it's like a reveal-based thing, but it's not a reveal-based thing that doesn't require any thinking. But I mean, obviously, the standouts from that movie is Tangerine and Lemon. It's Brian Tyree Henry and Aaron Taylor Johnson. They're magnetic together. Like everybody's clamoring for them to be in another thing together. They're great. They're great together. But Bullet Train was the biggest surprise. I saw it with my brother. We came home and we're like, did we like love that movie? Like that movie's actually really cool. But there's a lot of different genres hitting that movie at points too. I think a great thing for like these action comedy movies is when you inject the drama, and I'm going to talk about it when I talk about Barry. Inevitably, like at some point I feel like we're going to strip away labels. It's like the NBA stripping away positions. Like we're going to start stripping away labels from movies because movies and shows are starting to become a whole lot more than just a comedy or an action or a drama.
Yeah, that's
at the end of the day, it's like turning into just life. That's it.
Yeah, no, like life dialed up to like 10 or 11, depending on what story you're trying to tell.
Right. I'm gonna save that. What's your favorite performance? Because I gotta save the hashtag acting. Can we do a TV show and a movie?
Yeah, we could do that. I think my favorite performance in a TV show, I think they're both coming from House of the Dragon. But as far as like performance and then our later award, I'm gonna go with Patti Considine in House of the Dragon for all the reasons that you talked about earlier. I mean, Viserys is the true through line through that entire show up until his death, and I think just he does such a wonderful job of. Even though the episodes are skipping time, like he does a great job of portraying like the world weariness of that character throughout, whereas maybe some other characters don't quite show that. Like I think Daemon is an example of that, who kind of remains kind of similar like throughout the entire show. Whereas Viserys obviously has the physical ailments, but like, man, you just feel when you get to that moment when he walks into the throne room, like you genuinely feel like this is a man who has the literal weight of the world on his shoulders and he's wearing it and just puts up an absolutely memorable performance and one that I'm not long to forget anytime soon, especially since, one and done, he's not going to be in any subsequent seasons. So, man, yeah, that was just truly, truly special performance. As for movies, I'm going to dial it all the way back to March, and I'm going to go with Robert Pattinson and the Batman. I think he was as good as you could have wanted him to be in that role, taking on a different take of the character that we've seen on film to this point. The self-narration in the beginning immediately grounds you in the world, gets it immediately as far as like, this is a man who, we talk about Batman all the time, like Batman is the true persona and Bruce Wayne is the costume, and he portrays that in such an unbelievable way where like he doesn't want to be bothered with being Bruce Wayne, and I think that's awesome. Like we haven't seen that version of Batman on screen yet, to where he doesn't have the balance sorted out because he doesn't want the balance to be sorted out. He just wants to be Batman to the point where like he's wearing sunglasses inside during the daytime because he can't stand the light, and just those little things, man. And you know, I think in a weird way it's a movie that kind of gets overlooked since it came out so early in the year, and we've had so much superhero content.
And it's the genre too. It's the superhero aspect of it too. I think I told you, I was thinking about this. I was hard pressed to like think. I was like, how do you look at a movie that's like shot this well, acted this well, and like there was things that people were saying. I was just like, there's certain things I'll listen to 100%, and like obviously I can't agree with everything, but there were some things that I was like, this doesn't even make sense. And I think it's because how different of a superhero movie and how like art house of a superhero movie it is comparatively to like put that against Thor: Love and Thunder. I bet you there are people that like Thor: Love and Thunder because it feels more like a superhero movie.
Even if you put it against something more grounded like The Dark Knight, it's still, The Dark Knight feels more comic booky than this.
Right. That's a good one. So you know what? I'll give my performance to Jeremy Allen White in The Bear. I think I really hope he wins that Emmy this year for Best Actor. I talked about it before. Hopefully next year I launch into more, reviews of stuff, of other stuff, apparently of the court scene that nobody else has seen. But he's magnificent. I mean, you watch him in Shameless and you kind of watch him grow up in Shameless, but I feel like this was it's funny. We talked about this with Jonathan Majors. Like, you get that role where you're like, this is the one that's going to ignite your career. And he even talks about it. He said he had a stack of scripts on like that his agents were telling him about after The Bear released, and he's so broken. I think that's what's he's so relatable in that show. He's so broken. He's the little brother. He's John Bernthal's little brother, which was just completely unexpected. But he's this little brother on this journey of like confusion almost, and it's confusion in the fact of how to run a restaurant, because he knows how to run he knows how to be a cook in like a 5-star Michelin, like kitchen, but like now he has to run it with like regular people on a regular day-to-day basis in a city and in a shop where his brother died. Like, all those things can be completely heart like gutting, and he has to kind of, and you have to watch him just live through it, and it's really reflective, like on losing people. I think this year dealt with a lot of loss in universe and outside, so this show does a great example of that too. And it's a trend. It's the idea of just the ascension piece. I think, like I said, I hope Jeremy Allen White turns into like an absolute megastar with whatever he wants to do. If he wants to stay in like this indie niche, I hope he stays there. If he wants to take on bigger roles, but I think he's going to be somebody that people call. I know he has that movie next year with Zac Efron with the wrestling brothers. Yep. Yeah. So I think this is the start of something truthfully special for him.
Good.
And for movies, I didn't know where to go. It was a little bit tougher. I was leaning towards Colin Farrell and Banshees of Inisherin, but I'm gonna go to Michelle Yeoh and Everything Everywhere All at Once. I just think it's the representation piece times like 1,000, because it's not the idea. It is the idea of her being, an Asian woman and like a mainstream, movie in America, but it's also, it's the thing that the movie's like, that movie is truthfully everything. Like, it's the biggest, most bombastic movie of this year. Like, it's incredibly, like, it's infinite in scale, but it's so small, and like the normal thing, like what she talks about at the end of the movie, like maybe there will be some discovery that makes us feel like even less of people, but like at the end of the day, like, I have all this infinite power, but like I still just want to just be with my daughter that's the only thing I truthfully care about. There again, it's just that it's something that's so incredibly human for like turning herself into like a deity almost, or like a true god. Like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. And coupling her with Ke Huy Quan, like having these two, staples of the Asian acting community in the Western hemisphere, I think put together such a great film. Hats off to the Daniels, because I think again, apparently this movie is starting to slip during this award season, but I think that this movie deserves all of its flowers because it was holding so much power in the first half of the year.
Yeah, I totally agree. I hope this movie ends up getting a little more recognition than it's currently getting, because it's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Agreed 1,000,000%. What's your favorite comeback of this year? So this could be an actor coming back. There could be an in-universe thing, like something came back. It could be, you know, a movie that we haven't seen, like a characters that we haven't seen in years, like a reboot or something, or a rehash. What's your favorite comeback of the year?
Favorite comeback that I'm not even sure it might go somewhere, it might not, but I'm gonna go with Sam Worthington.
Okay.
Because not just because of Avatar, but also he was in Under the Banner of Heaven.
Yep.
With Andrew Garfield, and he was tremendous in that. And I was like, hey, Sam Worthington in a thing that I like for the first time in like 100 years. And then, you know, we talked last week about how good he is again in Avatar. And, you know, it felt like when original Avatar came out, it felt like Sam Worthington was on that track.
He was the track. Yep.
And then it just didn't happen.
Because he definitely was in, like, he was in Terminator. Like, he started getting, like, you know, these bigger roles started to pump out. But, like, I think Avatar might have been something where, like, some directors are probably like, I don't want to deal with having this guy here. It might be tougher than other things. Like, I don't think as, like, people that are outside of the film realm, like, how difficult, like, some of the decisions, like, there could be decisions like that, like, where they don't want some of these bigger actors because it might take away from stuff. Like, so that, I think that's a great pick. I like we talked about last week. He feels so into that and into Avatar, like as a father. Like the idea of him being a father was the best decision about his character and about him.
It gave him, which I'm mad I didn't make this point last week. It felt like in the first movie he was lacking like a dimension, right? He felt like very like that. Every character in that movie is very early 2000s kind of written, and you know, we talked about that. That's kind of like a charming bit about the first one. But this movie, that they gave him that dimension that made him like feel like a character finally. And
because it's like it's him as the father, and then the third dimension is like the relationship between like him and his sons, because it's not this idea that like he has these sons and two daughters. It's the idea of like how he treats his sons. Like he treats them like soldiers because that's all he knows. Like that's the only way he knows how to raise these kids. Like obviously he can attempt to raise daughters, and he has Natiri to help him a little bit. But I think what's truthfully incredible is like his transition from the beginning of the movie to being like, hey, like I'm militaristic in the way I'm going to raise my sons. Like this is the only thing I know, so this is the only way I'm going to know how to raise men. And then like I see you. I don't need, like, that's all I'm going to say. Like, I see you at the end of the movie. Like, how much of a development that is truthfully incredible.
Yeah. And it, you know, it's a testament to the performance. So I don't know. We'll see. If maybe this is his kind of like second chance at getting on that track, that he seemed to be poised for after the first Avatar. Maybe he'll get back on that track. But, you know, it was cool because he had that joke with Zoe Saldana in the interview where, you know, Sam Worthington's been in 23 movies since the first Avatar, and like he had that joke with Zoe Saldana that like 22 of them you've never seen or whatever. But then, and it's true. Like the guy kind of fell off the face of the earth, and then like I said, I saw him in Under the Banner of Heaven. I'm like, hey, Sam Worthington's back, and then you know capped it off with this Avatar performance. So I'm hoping that maybe this time around he gets a little more shine.
Yep, agreed.
What's yours? Sam Raimi was also an honorable mention for me.
For the
for comeback,
yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna have to go with Charlie Cox's Daredevil. Just the
you Daredevil simp.
The absolute craziness that ensued when he flipped on that, when he walked in that screen, was just had Twitter just on fire for weeks. And it wasn't the him show. That's how I knew it was strong. It wasn't the him showing up. It was the him not showing up for like 3 weeks, and people thought he was going to be there. It's just incredible to see Charlie Cox do anything nowadays. Yes. Just absolutely revolutionized Daredevil and comic runs that were so great, and I think I've talked about it before. Like if you want to go pound for pound like comic writers on runs, like Daredevil probably has some of the most tender love and care of a character that's ever been written by multiple writers. So it's like him and Batman are like at the top of like people taking characters and doing what they want with them. But yeah, it's just seeing him more flippy, I think is not as bad as people think. I think that's kind of cool because that's like kind of comic-y, which is She-Hulk to a T. But yeah, just seeing him was just great this year. I loved it. And thank God he's back in 18 episodes of Daredevil Born Again.
18 episodes though?
It's a lot of episodes.
Yeah, that's a great choice. I like that.
What's your favorite third act of this year?
Oh my goodness gracious. I feel like it's 1A, 1B, and I'm going to go with the 1A, and I'm going to pick Top Gun Maverick, because we talked about it when we talked about the review, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. it's like getting on a roller coaster, that third act. You're strapped in, you're locked in, and it's just a nonstop thrill ride until they get back on the aircraft carrier, and you're encapsulated by it from the moment they take off. Like, it's very rare in movies that you can draw that hard delineation between the end of Act 2 and the beginning of Act 3, but Top Gun Maverick is very precise with how it does that. It's rising up out of the ground, and we're going. We're going on the mission, and then it's nonstop from there. It's incredible.
Yeah, there's this feeling of, like, there's no turning back. I think
exactly
that goes down, and it goes down to performance. It goes down to filmmaking, like the shot selection of them leaving the aircraft carrying, coming towards you, like seeing the ship like get further and further away in the shot. Like, all of that lends to, like, this is the mission, like how you talk about every time, like, we've done it, we've done the mission, we thought we had to fail the mission, the guy that you know got ostracized did the mission and proved that we can do it. Now we're on the actual mission, and there's no safety barriers, there's nothing we can do. We have the team, like, we're ready to go. Just the frame, and like, it's almost to the point it makes you emotional when the other admiral tells Maverick, like, you were meant to fly this mission, Maverick, like, this was always supposed to be you. So that third act is incredible. There's two pieces in the third act. Like, it's the first part of the third act, and it's just, there's like different obstacles. Like, even when they're like flying through the bridge, and it's just like the thing that wasn't in the original mission training's there, like all those things, and it's just like,
then Maverick gets shot down.
Yeah, there's stakes, there's weight. Like, I can't tell you, like, how my heart dropped, like, when the first SAM went off, like, when they come out of the climb and the SAM goes off, and you're like, this is real. Like, I don't know if somebody's gonna make it or somebody's gonna not make it. So
it's so crazy.
Yeah. Again, you talk about, I guess, theater experience is a good way to reflect on it. And it's just, when we were in that theater, like, people were like sitting up in their seats, like they were like locked into this thing. Like, I had never seen anything like this since like a Marvel, like since like Avengers Endgame or Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, but it's the unexpected nature. Like, I wasn't expecting that from Top Gun Maverick. Like,
I know
there's a reason why this very well could win like Best Picture at the Oscars.
It's so crazy. My 1B was Avatar.
Yeah. That third act was just
tremendous. It was James Cameron back in his action bag from Terminator days.
So he mixed like Terminator with Titanic and made them blue.
Boom, you looking for this?
Yeah.
Yes, James Cameron. I was actually.
That was Pyacon when he jumped on the boat. Man. Yeah, that third act is just, it gave one of the best lines of the year. You just gonna leave knowing I'll keep coming for you? Well, let's get it done. Just like, man.
Tremendous.
Yeah. Man.
I love movies, man.
Yeah, movies are cool. Man. Why don't you pick the next category?
I'm going into the hashtag acting award.
Okay.
Our staple award. One of our staple awards. So who do you have for your hashtag acting award?
So I'm gonna go with Bill Hader in Barry. I think he deserves there was the performance. Like, I think Jeremy Allen White's performance, like, I just really like clung on to that performance, but the hashtag acting goes to Bill Hader. Like, just absolutely unhinged. Like, he truthfully lost it in season 3 of Barry. Like, it's just off the rails, just like nothing is under control. Like, he's truthfully losing it, and like he can't handle anything. Like, everything's like his whole life that he spent the last like 3+ years trying to, like, you know, make credible and not be a hitman, just all falling apart all at once. Like, he looks so disheveled that whole season. Like, he just looks like just battered. Like he can't get a win, and it's just that frame where they're in the desert and he and his friend that got shot, that became the FBI detective that found out that Barry was the one that was killing everybody, and he's just crying on the ground, like on his knees. Like, I'd seen that frame like on Instagram so many times before I got around to watching season 3 as like, this is the best acting of the year. So like, in terms of the hashtag acting, like, big bombastic, yeah, like that, it was Bill Hader this year.
Yeah, it's just when someone that you just see on a screen and they go dial it up to 110. And you're like, that's acting.
Yep.
Acting. Yep. Hashtag acting.
Hashtag acting all with caps. 3 G's. Yep.
So mine is I'm going back to House of the Dragon. It's going to be Will Johnson as Vaemon Velaryon in the throne room. Just a legendary, I don't know, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. he just is on one. Like that guy. It's one of those performances where like the actor has been waiting for this.
Yeah, because
the
this
entire
is
season.
Because you're not a main character, so this is the thing. Like this is the piece like where you're gonna do your thing.
And he gets center stage, center frame, and he's saying his piece about how he should be the heir to Driftmark and Rhaenyra's kids shouldn't be. And then there's a moment where it goes from like an 8 out of 10 to a 12 out of 10, and it's he pivots.
He like stops for a second and he's just looking.
There's a hard pivot. That is no true Valarian, and from there it just gets better and better. Plays off of Matt Smith and Patti Considine just tremendously. When he's like, he wants to say that Rhaenyra's children are bastards, and Matt Smith is egging him on. He's like, say it. He's like, her children are bastards! Man, you could feel it through the screen when he says that, and then he has this little like crap-eating grin on his face, and then he goes, and you're like, whoa,
wait a minute,
hold
don't
on.
say it.
And then he says what he says about Rhaenyra, and the hush falls over the crowd, and then Viserys gets up and he's all tough, in his old age. He's like, I'll have your tongue for that. And then Vaemond is immediately beheaded. It's just tremendous.
Yeah. I love that scene so much. That was one of those scenes, like, I immediately texted you. I was like, this is it. Like, they've done it. This is exactly what we needed.
It's so good.
It's just the structure of the scene, too, because it's like, it's building, and you're getting there, and you feel like something's gotta give here, because this man just walked up his 67-year-old sick self to says, I will sit the throne today. And then, like, you knew there was something to give.
And Vaemond gets desperate. Like, he's feeling like he thought he had it. Like, he was in with Otto Hightower. He was like, this is going to be easy. Nobody recognizes Rhaenyra's kids. And then Viserys comes in, and he feels that power slipping from his fingers, so he makes a desperation play at it. And it fails in the most spectacular fashion.
Right. Right. That's a good one.
It's so good.
That's a good one. What was your favorite rewatch of the year?
I'm going to say Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Does that count?
Yeah.
As a rewatch?
Yeah. This is like the third time I saw it.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, I marinated, I meditated, and I was like, I like this movie quite a bit. And then after I watched it again, I was like, I actually like this movie a lot.
Yeah. Is this movie cool?
Is this movie great?
Yeah, I think that movie's got really, really great, like...
It's just that Illuminati thing, man, just bugs me. Like, it's never gonna not bug me.
If they just did more multiverse hopping instead of that, and then, like, maybe throw a cameo in a universe...
The movie's incredible.
Yeah.
If that happens.
Yeah, the best thing about this movie, in my opinion, is Sam Raimi directed this movie. He directs, like... What's the best way to put it? It's not, like, the greatest directed movie in the MCU, but, like... He directs the heck out of this movie. Like, this is probably what he always wanted. He's a horror director, and he did probably one of the most prominent superhero franchises. Like, mix them, like, and he did it, and he got to do it. And then, like, with Doctor Strange on top of that, too, like, I think he has such a great handle on Doctor Strange himself, and so does Benedict Cumberbatch. Like, what I wanted from Thor, I think I got more from Doctor Strange.
So many cool things.
Yeah,
and
it's not, like, because I do still have my complaint that, like, I still think that Doctor Strange hasn't done much growing. Like, I still think he has a lot of growing to do. I think that gets replaced with like how comfortable like Benedict Cumberbatch feels as Doctor Strange. Like I think he's nestled right into that role, and I think Sam Raimi like tucked him in. Like that's how I feel like it. That's how,
I like that analogy a lot.
So yeah, I think that's a really good one. I'll take that one. I'll take that
Thanks.
one. I'm gonna. Man, this year was tough. I feel like last year was easier. I feel like this year was much tougher in my rewatches. I'll give you a fandom one, and I'll give you a non-fandom one.
Okay.
So my fandom one is probably gotta be the first Fantastic Four movie. Was the most fun rewatch of the year. Oh, I take that back. I apologize. All right, just erase this part.
All right. I'm leaving it in, but go ahead.
Right. I think my favorite rewatch was probably the 2009 Star Trek movie.
Okay.
From J.J. Abrams.
That makes sense.
Again, I think he directs the heck out of that movie. And lens flares be darned. I think he does a great job. That movie's got incredible energy to it, incredible pace. I mean, Michael Giacchino's score is just... You want to talk about scores being enhancers? That score is incredible. That score's so well done. I think Chris Pine, I like that the fact that this movie's like an odyssey. Like this movie is obviously it's a travel-based odyssey, but it's smart in its time travel dynamics and its time travel mechanics. Like it, I know some people aren't too fond of it. I think it's just interesting, like the way they kind of go about it, like incorporating the old generation of Star Trek on top of that with Leonard Nimoy, like all those little things kind of encapsulated into that. And then I mean, Zachary Quinto and Chris Pine's dynamic, I think it's like a firecracker. Like they play so well off of each other. Like it's like a modern day, like it's like akin to like how I feel about like Tony and like how I feel about Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. Like I feel like when I was a kid, like I felt about, you know, Zachary Quinto and Chris Pine. Like they were great together the whole time. I wanted to see more of them. And yeah, that movie, it hit me emotionally way more this time. Like there's a lot of good dark bits in that movie and like super emotional bits in that movie as well. And yeah, I think that movie as a whole it's a great start to like a new generation of Star Trek fans. Like I think at one point this year, I really want to talk about the J.J. Abrams / James Wan Star Wars sect or Star Trek sect, and
sure.
And I'm just really fond of that first movie. It was like that was a movie I watched a lot when I was a kid.
That's great.
My non-fandom movie, man, I'm probably gonna have to go with Back to the Future. Was probably like the most sure. Like that was the watch, and I talked about it on here one of the weeks. Like I hadn't seen it in a while. I just that movie is like a staple of my childhood, and like it was I appreciated so many more things like down from Alan Silvestri's score, like kind of like that 80s score with like a lot of incidentals. Like I was watching Indiana Jones the other day, like same thing. But the relationship between Doc and Marty, it's so like the flow of that movie is it's great. Like again, like this action adventure piece in 85, like it's a staple of the 80s. Like you talk about big action blockbusters in the summer, like Back to the Future. I think it might be one of the best examples of that in a decade full with movie media.
Yeah, that's never a bad time to rewatch, but yeah. Back to the Future.
Yep.
Should we wrap this up? Should we hit our big ones?
Yeah, I think what do we got left? And then the best first time watch. We'll couple these together.
You know, I'm gonna cheat a little bit, but it's actually gonna segue right into what ended up being my favorite TV show.
We can't do this.
I'm doing this. The Sandman.
That's a. What do you want to do? One show and one movie?
I guess we could do that. But as far as just like. Man, that show just gripped me I watched it in one shot, one day, and it was just, I was encapsulated by it. It was thought-provoking, it was interesting, I mean, it was obviously grounded in just an incredible universe, I mean, that Neil Gaiman has tried to get on screen for such a long time, and didn't just because he wasn't comfortable with, you know, this thing or that thing and how it was being presented, and then it finally all came together in what I think was just a really special, you know, however 13 hours of television or what it worked itself out to be. Just incredible performances across the board. Yep. The world is just astounding to look at times, and I mean we dedicated a ton of time to the episode, to the Preludes and Nocturnes episode. You know, with his sister with death, and that's one of the most special episodes of television ever.
Agreed. I agree with that 100%.
So yeah, that show was just incredible, and like I said, it's spoiling what my favorite TV show of the year was, but that show was absolutely amazing.
Nice. I'm probably, for my TV show, I'll probably go with the first time watch. Oh, let me start with the movie. I'm gonna go with Before Sunrise. Richard Linklater, 1995. Ethan Hawke. I don't know if you can find whatever episode I talked about that. I think that might have been my greatest like one shot review. I gotta put a name on how we're gonna go about my like review section of a movie, but man, it's just that movie really like it hits you because it's like this longing-esque piece. Like it's like one of those things, like it's the most tropey love at first sight, but like the execution is just exquisite. And it goes down to like having Ethan Hawke there too. I think what Richard Linklater does best, it's his idea of motion and shot. I think it's this idea of walking and talking and like having like, you know, movement in a shot to keep it alive. And I think it's like keep it, like, having youth to keep that alive as well too. But I think the best thing about Richard Linklater is his dialogue. I think his dialogue's ever so real. It's like, it's almost like this audition piece this movie is, and it's this idea of like, when you like somebody, like, you're auditioning them essentially to like be the person like you're really gonna be with. And it's like this idea of like, you meet this person at this random spot, like, that nothing truthfully is a random encounter, like everything has meaning, and like they're talking about the most essential aspects of life and like how they can spend their life or how they do. We develop relationships as people. I think all those aspects are important, but it's just they're just like magnets, the two of them, the two main actors in this film. So it was just something that I think it was special. It was one of those watches that you didn't know you needed until you needed it. It's like that's the idea of like you wish that can happen to you, and I think they capture that again, like that young love aspect. It's like something that could be so cheesy, but it's Richard Linklater. Just he gets it. Just like how I think John Hughes, like, he understands the voice of the youth in the 80s. I think Richard Linklater like understands this idea of love at first sight.
Sure, cool.
And then the show.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna have to. I'm probably going to have to go with my favorite watch of the year was probably Peacemaker. Oh, I had so much fun. Again, you talk about like just absolutely in the superhero genre, just unhinged, doesn't unapologetic, doesn't care about what you feel or what people may feel. It just week in, week out, like, again, like just getting people to care about like who's Peacemaker, and like how do you get people to care about him? You put John Cena in the
James
role.
Gunn special.
Yep, James Gunn special. And it's like, how do you get people emotionally to care about him? And you do. Like, yeah. He's a like he killed Rick Flag, like he's done criminal activity. His father is like a white supremacist, like all the worst things you can be, and like you still care about Peacemaker. Yeah. But the show's production value, it was much higher than I thought it would be, especially going down to like the last parts of like the last couple episodes. I was like, we're doing like some bigger set pieces here. The action's tight, it's fast paced, hand to hand's really well executed. But I think John Cena's great, and he seems to be having so much fun playing Peacemaker. Obviously, we don't know if he's ever going to play Peacemaker again, but I think he is getting his season 2. But I think that might be it.
Yeah, it's potential. Yeah, that show is absolutely unhinged, incredible in every fathomable way. You never knew what was going to happen or what direction it was going to go, and like you said, by the end of it, it was surprisingly touching. Yep. So, man, all right. I guess we can hit the big boys now.
Yeah, hit the big ones.
So, let's just. I mean, I already talked about what my favorite TV show of the year was. Yeah, The Sandman. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
What was yours?
It's The Bear. I personally think it's the best television show of the year. It's 8 episodes, like half an hour each episode, so you're looking at about...
It's really tight.
Yeah, it's tight. It's like 4 hours, either plus or minus, like it's ranging around there, but it's just the energy and the pace of that show. Like that show's got... Again, it's this idea, like we have this like umbrellas we throw everything under, like it needs to be a comedy, it needs to be a drama, like the show's labeled as a comedy, and like I laugh dry humor, but like I was like incredibly sad a lot of the time in this show, and like that doesn't come without Jeremy Allen White, and just kind of, again, like everything I said, like he's just so incredibly broken, and like he can't. Yeah. He's just trying to put the pieces of his life, and like he forged himself into something that was like in retaliation to somebody that he loved and didn't know how to deal with his brother being a drug addict. And like, if you want to like look at monologues, like you go into episode 8 and also like not only the pace, but the actual pacing of this show, like you're talking about a full out crash course. Like episode 7 was like the culmination of everything. Like, they one-shotted the 7th episode, and it's what happens is basically they have the mobile order system going now, but whatever happened is they forgot to do it at a certain time when the store opened, so they had it running for the whole time, and there were just it was like 60 orders to start, and like it's panic, like it's true out panic, but like a lot of like there's videos of like cooks, like actual cooks, like watching the show and being like, this is how it feels, like it's like there's no stop, like it's panic, like it's like you can, all these things are happening, and like I think he encompasses that so well. Like I think he manages his anger well, but I think he manages his subtle moments well too, because it's like his anger, and then that all happens for episode 7. You're so like
you're like on edge the whole episode, and then it gets quiet, and then he gives this incredible monologue about, you know, losing his brother and like what happened, like how it changed him essentially, and like how sad he is after that as well. So that I think that's the best show of this year.
Cool, that's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I already sung the praises of the Sandman. Definitely, I mean, we talked about it. We talked about the episode. One of my favorite fictional stories, period. So to see it kind of translated to screen so brilliantly was just really a sight to behold. Super stoked that Netflix invested in a second season, and we'll see the continuation of that story. As for my favorite film of the year, again, I waffled between two choices, and ultimately I landed on Morbius. Just an incredible performance from Jared Leto
And Matt Smith.
But mostly Jared Leto.
Yeah.
When he got off that first line of the movie about being a doctor,
Do you remember like when we were in the theater?
Yeah.
You like, so we're in the theater and it's already, we know what we're getting. We know what we ordered. It's like when you go to McDonald's and like people are like, you shouldn't eat that. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know this isn't good for me. I know exactly what I'm doing. So we're sitting there. And, like, he gets off the chopper, and he's in the forest somewhere, wherever.
And he's got his cane.
And he's walking out, and the guy goes, "You need a doctor, man?" And then Jared Leto playing Michael Morbius goes, "I am a doctor." And the look Rob gave me is, like, gonna be, like, etched into my brain until the day I die. So, it was just this look of, like, uh-oh. Like, we knew.
And then we got a spectacular post-credit scene featuring Michael Keaton. Just
why?
I don't know if you could mail it in any more than it was mailed in.
Insane.
He mail-ordered it.
Yeah.
That's how much he mailed it in. But, no, seriously, my favorite movie of the year, Avatar, Way of the Water.
Wow.
Yeah. It, like I said, man, that first one left a mark on me that I hadn't felt in a theater, since. And then the second one left the same impression on me. Shout out to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Shout out Top Gun Maverick. It was really spectacular. Like, the Batman, like, there were some really, really special movies this year. But, I mean, like I said, it could be a recency bias thing. But, man, that movie just floored me in so many ways. Yeah. And just a movie and then, more importantly, an experience that I'm not long to forget anytime soon. So, yeah, Avatar, Way of the Water definitely was my favorite movie of the year, just for the whole package of the experience.
The Batman.
Yeah.
The Batman is my favorite movie of this year. For me personally, that movie might be one of the single prime examples of delivering on what was promised.
Yeah.
Again, to the naysayers, I just don't know how you look at a movie that's like that well shot, that well acted, that well directed, like that well scored, and it's like, it's okay.
That was a movie.
Yeah, like that was an actual.
That was a film.
Like it was like Matt Reeves knew I liked two things. Like there was like two things that I personally liked, and he was just like, I'm gonna make the movie for you. Like, you like film? Here you go. Here's a film. You like comic book character? Here's a comic book movie. And like,
it's tremendous.
The marriage of those two is it's breathtaking. That world, that Gotham feels lived in, but with ever so much exploration to be had. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman is someone I want to see more of. I want to see more of the Riddler, like Paul Dano. I hope is somebody they don't lose as well. Maybe you slot him in to direct one of these spinoffs, because I talked about his directorial debut with Wildlife in 2018 with Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he's an incredible talent on and behind the camera and in front of the camera. But I mean, all hats off go to Robert Pattinson, and I just want to self-proclaim the I told you so, because I tried to tell everybody from the jump that this was the absolute right choice. And it's crazy how timing works, because I just read Zach, who was it? I forget who was writing Batman at the time. It was Greg Capullo was drawing it, and it was Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder was writing Batman, and it was Batman 0 Year, and I'm like, this feels like Batman 0 Year. Like,
yeah,
there's Batman that doesn't care about Bruce Wayne. Like, Bruce Wayne is the mask. Like, I don't care about, like, and he even says it to Andy Serkis. Like, he says to Alfred, like, I don't care what happens to me. Like,
he said it to Andy Serkis actually off
yeah,
camera.
Yeah, I don't care what happens to me. I'm character actor Robert Pattinson.
Andy Serkis was like, whoa, man.
Yeah. But again, it's the same thing I feel about Dune, and when we talk about... I'm just going to spoil what my most anticipated movie for next year is. It's
Morbius
Dune,
2.
Nope. It's Dune Part 2, easily. And it's, again... It's the potential that I think the potential piece is the single biggest thing that's kind of driving me in both of these. Like for Dune, it's this potential that everybody's gonna know more about the world, and then now it's just straight executing the plan. But for the Batman, it's like you talk about one of the most heralded characters of all comic book characters of all time. Like this universe has nothing but potential. Like I truthfully do think we're gonna get to like the point where it's like prime comic Batman that everybody wants. Robert Pattinson will be at like the argument like, oh, he's like emo and like he has long. I'm like, because he doesn't care about Bruce Wayne. Like none of these things matter to him. Like I just think this progression is just going to be something to like behold, and like it's just this level of filmmaking on a comic book property. I think is so awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, like that movie was just everything. Like you said, it was everything you could have hoped for that it was going to be, and Matt Reeves and company. Delivered on it. Yep. I mean, I'm not long to forget, that theater experience either. Like, watching that movie and like the Batmobile scene. Yeah,
that movie's just
crazy.
Yeah, just like if we wanted to dive into like a cinematography category, like I would probably pick the Batman too. Like I think it's one of the best shot movies of this year. I think Greg Fraser's an absolute star. Like he should be in the same like word of mouth as like Hoyte van Hoytema or Roger Deakins. Like I think Greg Fraser's that good. Like there's a reason where like these top tier directors are trying to go after him now. It's because of how well he shoots and how well he understands the worlds that he's in. Like Dune doesn't feel like the Batman, but it's shot by the same person. Like that's the true testament to a good cinematographer. Michael Giacchino's score is just oh my god. Like I like listened to it on the way home, like or on the way here. When we raced here to talk about this movie because I couldn't wait to talk about it. Like this world is something to behold, I think, especially for a comic book property. Like this world is something special. Like I still hope Robert Pattinson stays separate from whatever's new in the DCU, or the DCU. Like I hope he stays separate. Like even if I don't care what characters you give him, if they're like, if they're Justice League characters, I don't care. Like I just think Matt Reeves can handle whatever you give to him.
Totally agree. That's such a great choice. It's definitely up there for me also. Mm-hmm. And that's 2022. Obviously, I mean, shout out all the things that we could fit into this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, The Boys. Yeah. We had a whole episode on that.
Yep. Umbrella Academy, which we didn't get to talk about.
Which we still haven't done an episode on.
Yep. Much to my behest, because I love the Umbrella Academy.
Just so many things. I mean, Rings of Power.
Rings of Power came out, yep.
So many things.
We had all the Marvel TV shows, like Moon Knight came out this year.
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk came out this year. Like, we had so much come out this year.
And so many things to look forward to, which... will be our next episode. We're going to do a little preview for 2023 because it's primed to be a tremendous year in movies, TV, video games.
Yes, yep.
Big year coming up, 2023.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think gaming's going to get a big staple next year, but movies are going to be... The month of July is just absolutely nuts. Like, I think there's a Mission Impossible movie. We're getting Oppenheimer, but like all these movies are coming out in the same month.
Indiana Jones,
like that's all in July by itself. Like next year, Transformers is coming out next year. Like
multiple Marvel things. Yeah, what are we getting? We're Ant-Man.
We're starting the year with Ant-Man, so we're what, like a month and a half away, or like a little under 3 months away or 2 months away from Ant-Man. Yeah. We have the summer is going to be the Marvels, and then what are they
Guardians.
doing? And then Guardians. So they're doing the two at the beginning of summer, end of summer, and then I think that's it, right? They're not doing
I think so.
And then they're doing the shows. Obviously, are going to back half the year. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to put some big reveals in the shows in the back half of the year.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of the new direction they take with spacing some things out. Yeah. Maybe so.
Probably. So we're going to probably hear some huge announcements next year. Some castings possibly are going to start to go. So
shout out Warner Brothers for keeping us entertained, week in and week out.
Yes,
keeping us on our toes.
What shout outs do you got? Maybe we can sublet what we've been doing for just some shout outs for 2022.
Ah man, Warner Brothers, man. They gave us not one but two breaking news segments in the midst of our episodes, just totally destabilizing their entire universe of movies. So definitely shout out Warner Brothers. Shout out George R. R. Martin for just not caring about writing books. Mm-hmm. I respect that energy.
Sure.
Let's see who else. Shout out Henry Cavill.
Yeah, man.
for just rolling with every punch that's been thrown at him over this last year. just an amazing whirlwind of things that he had to go through.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the whiteboard right now to find out what the 2022 Whitecap so let's start from the top. Stephen Lang, specifically Stephen Lang, not Quaritch. Stephen Lang.
Yep.
Wong.
Yes.
Yeah, Wong probably should have been if we did the jaw drop moment, it would have been one of the craziest comic book movie things of all time, and that's like Doctor Strange
reanimated his corpse,
overtaking like demons that were trying to like kill him and turning it into like wings to
Remember when you thought Wong was gonna die in Multiverse of Madness?
Oh, I was dead stop on that.
And then he proceeded to just absolutely floor everybody in She-Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, you're being saved. We have Peacemaker on here. We have Tom Cruise is on here.
Yes.
Soldier Boy Jensen Ackles is on here. Yep.
Yes.
Man.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I almost could have gave him the hashtag acting award.
Oh,
he was
easily
acting in there.
Easily.
Man, Vigilante from Peacemaker.
Yes.
Was great. Brendan Fraser, obviously, the new ascension of Brendan Fraser, the re-emergence of Brendan Fraser. Sam Worthington stuck his way onto this list. Obviously, Top Gun Maverick is probably at the top of this list. Reese Fonz is on this list.
Yes.
He made his way onto this list. The Rock is on this list, but I don't know if we need to take The Rock off of this list.
Ooh, will he be the first one ever taken off the whiteboard?
Yeah, unfortunately I had to remove, I did have a boo from Miss Marvel, but I promptly had to remove him after some unfortunate events that he took place in.
True.
Sandman's on this list.
Yes.
Episode 4 and 6 specifically of Sandman are on this list.
Yes.
And Jeffrey Wright, obviously. That's my top name on
the
this
immortal
thing.
Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer,
yes, Oppenheimer's on. I think Oppenheimer was here from last year, so I didn't put it on there. But like last year was it was a small whiteboard. It was Andrew Garfield. It was Fast and Furious. It was Charlie Cox. It was Charlie Cox. It was Dune, and it was Oppenheimer. And then the list grows.
James Cameron.
Patti Constantine is definitely on here.
Yes.
Yep, he has to be on here.
Oh man, Matt Smith.
Oh yeah, Matt Smith might take the Andrew Garfield spot. Like, there's like a person, there's like an actor that's usually there for like just being like a stunner, and like I think Matt Smith gets it this year.
House of the Dragon made everyone go, "Wait, is Matt Smith good at acting?"
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
It turns out yes.
Yeah, and House of the Dragon, I think rightfully so, should be on this whiteboard.
He said, "Come at me, David Tennant."
Yeah,
I'm the best Doctor Who.
I'm the best Doctor Who. Yeah. So yeah, that's the whiteboard recap, and then obviously Morpheus from Sandman,
and Morpheus from The Matrix Resurrections.
Yep. Shout out Yahya Abdul-Mateen, who is slated to be in a Marvel project in 20. He's going to be Wonder Man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool. And then Barbie, obviously, Barbie for next year.
Lizzie Olsen.
Yeah, Elizabeth Olsen, 1,000,000%. I guess July 2023 is just added to the whiteboard itself, because that's 4 major movies all in a month, and then we're getting 5. The Marvels is coming out that month.
Jonathan Majors.
Oh,
Speaking of Majors.
Yeah. Speaking of Majors, Jonathan Majors, obviously he's got to be on here. Who else is on here? Yeah, that's a solid list.
It's a really solid list.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford.
Oh, Glenn Powell's he's got to be on this list.
Yes.
He flew 2 planes in 2 separate movies.
I am good.
I
am good, Rooster.
I'm really good.
Make him Green Lantern. Cowards.
Easiest casting, and he obviously loves to fly, so it's the easiest casting in movie history.
God.
Make him do the Green Lantern thing, and then just have Dylan O'Brien be Kyle Rayner. You get, I don't know, Trevante Rhodes can be Jon Stewart.
Powell could be Jon Stewart.
You got me, man.
I got him.
Yeah, on that note, we gotta get out. Break the socials off, man. We gotta get out of here. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays. Yep. Happy New Year. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support.
2 years now.
2 years. It means the absolute world. Only on to bigger and better things. I gotta get us 1 brand deal. That's the goal for 2023 is 1 brand deal.
And we'll get on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube and a brand deal. That's the only things I've ever wanted in life. And an assistant.
Yes, an intern.
we need like an assistant / fill-in person.
Yeah. But you can follow us on Twitter at ProjectIMF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook. New episodes posted every Wednesday, most of the time, sometimes Thursday, sometimes whenever we just feel like doing a thing on a movie that we just saw. Like we did with Avatar.
Yeah, or Morbius.
We didn't do an instant.
Remember when I almost had
You wanted to.
Yeah, I wanted to do a non-spoiler for Morbius.
He's like, should we go and record? I'm like, no.
No, I have to go home and rethink everything I've ever done.
Absolutely not. You can follow us on Instagram.
Remember when he was like summoning bats and like it was honestly a little cool.
It was the Avengers Endgame of bats. I told you this. It was like that one bat. He's like on your left, and then all the other bats flew in.
It's Project INF, or what is it? The Project
Instagram.
Oh, the Project Infinite Pod. Thanks a lot, Morbius. I had like an 88 episode streak of doing this right.
Look what you've done.
I am a doctor. What? Oh man.
Look, man, I'm not sure when this podcast is going to go up, but I think it has something to do with Spider-Man, though.
That was us the entire back half of 2020 to 2021.
What did he just say?
Man, we were really on that Spider-Man train for months.
Michael Keaton, did you read the script?
Michael Keaton doesn't read scripts. Is he Batman?
No.
Who's Batman?
We're all Batman.
We're all Batman. Oh no, it's Iris West. She's back. We're the Batman. Shut up, Iris.
Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. The true Batman.
Rest in peace, Jason David Frank.
Yes. So many others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
From the Dr. Michael Morbius of the podcast.
No.
What a way to go out.
No. Reroll the dice. We didn't even talk about Andor.
No, we didn't.
If I were to give my favorite monologue, it would probably be from Andor, Andy Serkis. Or from Nemec. The Nemec Manifesto was great.
Yeah.
Or the final episode with his adopted mom.
All right, well, we roll this. Oh, it's Dr. Michael Morbius again.
No, there's no way. I can't have this.
He came up twice.
I can't have this.
I'm
trying to think of who I gave you for the...
Since it's the end of the year, I'll give you one.
Oh!
The King Viserys of this thing. I know you... I'm just kidding. The Matt Smith of this whole thing.
Huh. I'll take it.
Yeah, I know you will. That's your favorite guy now.
You can keep your tongue.
Disarm him! No need.
God, he's good. I can't wait to see more.
I need a movie with Matt Smith and Glenn Powell in it. As like estranged brothers.
Get Matt Smith in a good thing. That's not House of the Jedi.
Yeah, I was about to say. What are you trying to say?
They should make him... What they should do is reboot Kilgrave in the MCU and make Matt Smith Kilgrave.
God, that would be so good.
Up yours, David Tennant. All right, guys. We're signing off.
For the last time this year, we gotta go, man.
We gotta go, man. Happy New Year, because we'll see you next week for the first episode of 2023.
Yeah.
Can't wait. All right, guys. We'll see you next week and next year. Goodbye.
Oh no, you did the dad joke.
I couldn't help myself. All right, guys. Goodbye.
Peace.